What would you do if a nursery rhyme started killing the room, line by line? Welcome to Visual Book Summary. Today, we're stepping onto a foggy rock off the Devon coast, where 10 strangers are invited to a private island, and none of them come back. This is Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. If you enjoy smart, story-driven breakdowns, like and subscribe, then let's go. We open with 10 people traveling toward Indian Island, each with a letter, a wire, or an invitation that feels oddly tailored. The signatures look friendly enough: Constance Colmington, Una Nancy Owen, Ulick Norman Owen, but those initials hide a joke only a judge would catch. U.N. Owen. Unknown. It's a setup. They're guests of a host who doesn't exist. The house is modern, the view spectacular, and in each bedroom hangs the same childish rhyme, about 10 little figures who die in creative ways. In the dining room sit 10 tiny soldier statuettes, a charming joke until they start to disappear. After dinner, a gramophone is set to play. The label? Swan Song. The voice? Cold. It accuses every person in the room of getting away with murder, not in the heat of passion necessarily, but in the gray zones of negligence, cowardice, or convenient silence. The party is now a courtroom with no exits. From here, the book does something brutal and brilliant. It lets the rhyme set the tempo. First to fall is Anthony Marston, the golden boy. He lifts a drink, chokes, and drops. Cyanide in the glass. The rhyme's first beat has landed. By morning, Mrs. Rogers is dead in her bed, a sedative that pushed her past sleep. Was it mercy? Was it fear? Or was it the killer doing the rhyme's quiet work? On the shore, General MacArthur goes to meet the sea and never returns. He'd been muttering about past sins and waiting. When they find him, the calm around his body feels like the island itself is judging. Later, the official list will say it plain. His skull was fractured by a blow. The group tries what we would try: locks, rules, search parties, watch schedules. But fear corrodes agreements. Rogers, the butler, rises early to chop wood. He's found with his head split by an axe. Emily Brent sits primly in a chair, punctured by a needle, a bee buzzing as if the rhyme demanded a prop. The little figures on the table continue to vanish. Now suspicion spins. The doctor looks bad because of the needle. The judge looks dangerous because he keeps turning the room into a trial. In a bizarre tableau, Justice Wargrave is discovered robed and wigged, apparently shot, a theatrical image so convincing it fools professionals. The lights flicker, the candles gutter. Everyone breathes too loud. By the time Dr. Armstrong disappears, the island feels sentient. They'll find him later, drowned, the tide giving back what it swallowed. Blore heads to the house for food and dies under a falling marble bear-shaped clock, a nursery rhyme turned into an interior design murder weapon. It comes down to Lombard and Vera, the hunter with the revolver and the young woman with the worst memory in the book. She finds Armstrong's body on the rocks. Panic snaps the last threads of trust. Vera shoots Lombard with his own gun. She stumbles inside, up to her room, where the smell of seaweed pulls her into the day a boy named Cyril drowned while she watched the future she wanted floating just out of reach. A noose waits. The rhyme ends itself. When the police arrive, they count 10 bodies and no killer. The case makes no sense, which is exactly how it was designed. Weeks later, a bottle washes up with a confession inside. The judge writes in a voice that is both icy and thrilled. He has a romantic imagination, a love of justice, and an appetite for killing, and he wanted to create a perfect crime that no one could solve. He explains his tricks: the red herring that lured Armstrong to his death, the revolver hidden at the bottom of the tinned food, the elastic contraption that let him stage his own shooting and later take his life so the scene matched the rhyme. Even the chair Vera kicked away, quietly put back against the wall, so the room looked tidy, fated, inevitable. 10 bodies, 0 suspects, curtain down. Why does this still grip us? Partly because Christie strips the detective novel of its safety rails. There's no Poirot to explain things kindly. There isn't even a detective you can trust. It's closer to a thought experiment. If you invited 10 people who once dodged consequence to an island, how would justice arrive? As due process or as design? The judge believes the world needs a terrifying editor. The book doesn't endorse that. It just refuses to look away from how satisfying punishment can feel when you're not the one being measured. And in that gap between justice and revenge lives every true crime thread we scroll past at 2 a.m. It's also a study in guilt, the kind that doesn't show up on a legal form but keeps you awake. Vera is the clearest case. "I could swim to the rock, couldn't I?" you hear Cyril say in her memory. That line is a key. She didn't push him, she let him, because letting is sometimes how harm enters the world. The island forces each character to stand alone with that one private verb: pushed, lied, ignored, withheld, allowed. And then there's the modern mirror. Replace the island with a group chat, a forum, an anonymous account. Replace the gramophone with a pinned post titled Swan Song. Replace 10 figurines with 10 follower counts drifting down. The mechanism changes, the appetite doesn't. A rhyme still runs the internet. Accuse, pile on, erase, repeat. Christie's trick is to make us complicit, because as readers we want the pattern to complete. We keep turning pages, waiting for the next line to fall. 2 details I love before we close. First, that silly bear clock. It's campy on paper, but it makes a point. In a world governed by a child's poem, even a piece of decor can become fate. Second, the bottle at sea. The judge can't resist audience. Even in death, he wants someone to admire the design. That's the creepiest note of all. Evil that performs itself for applause. If you're reading this while commuting or cooking, here's the shape to keep. 10 arrivals, a rhyme as metronome, a voice that accuses, a room that shrinks, a sequence that feels like destiny, and a confession that proves it was all savagely planned. Christie doesn't give us comfort, she gives us order, and asks why it feels so good. Thanks for watching. If this helped the novel click into place, tap like, subscribe, and tell me below, do you read this book as justice served or justice perverted? Next up, more classics that are tougher and truer than their tidy covers suggest.